Hey, this is Daryl Henry. This week's a little bit different. My grandpa, Harold Henry, passed away on Monday. And so instead of the normal newsletter, I'm going to read something I wrote about my grandpa. It's called Be a Simple Kind of Man, in memory of my grandpa, Harold Henry. In my earliest memories of him, I thought he was strong as a bear. He would give me bear hugs every time I saw him. I remember being a little boy, and it was a test of my strength to see who could squeeze harder, me or my grandpa. He would cackle and squeeze, and I would feel my ribs compress just a little bit. And for years, this is how we would greet each other. I would squeeze him as hard as I could, and I would eventually give way when I felt the air coming out of my lungs. That only stopped when I was a teenager, and I could squeeze him harder than he could squeeze me. My entire life, we would play pranks on each other like that, harmless things that would make us laugh. As a teenager, I mowed his lawn every week. In the beginning, he wouldn't even let me use the riding mower. I would push the push mower for 3 hours in the summer heat, breathing exhaust and dust. And occasionally, I would see him riding around in his Cub Cadet and wonder why he didn't just mow the lawn himself. And every week, when I was done, he would pay me $30. Every week, he would walk up to me with a dollar bill folded in his palm, usually a $5 bill. I'm sorry, Daryl. I'm a little short this week. And he would hand me the bill, and I would unfold the dollars to check that he had the full 30. And he would laugh at me. Every week, he thought it was funny. Well, I got him back. One week, when I was finished mowing the lawn, he was in the middle of something and couldn't be bothered with his weekly joke. There's cash in my wallet. Go grab $30, he said. I found his wallet, and he had a stack of 20s about a half inch thick in his wallet. He was a depression kid and believed in cold, hard cash. Well, I took the whole stack of dollar bills and I walked to my car. I stood by my car and I waited for him. I watched as he walked into his garage. Then he patted his right pocket where he kept his wallet and felt a little light. So I watched as he pulled the wallet out of his pocket, looked inside, and then jumped as if a crab had just pinched him in the butt. I laughed uproariously, walked back up the hill, and returned the stack of dollar bills. I don't think he ever pretended to be short again. We always had a relationship that was based a little bit on mischief. It evolved as I got older. When my son Ben was born, my grandpa was very excited. He had a relative that was named Benjamin Samuel Henry. Benjamin Samuel was buried at the Henry farm where my grandpa had grown up, and he wanted to take Ben up there. So one Saturday, Ben, myself, and my grandpa drove up I 81 from Hagerstown to Greencastle to see the Henry family farm. On the drive, I kept the radio off. My grandpa was hard of hearing from years of hunting, and I was worried that he wouldn't be able to keep track of a conversation over top of the radio. So we drove, and as we drove past industrial warehouses, truck stops, and developed land, he told the story of what the land looked like when he was growing up. It was all forest. He knew it all by heart. He hunted across all those plots. He particularly liked the private land with no trespassing signs because that's where he could find the best hunting. He told stories of the families, of failed marriages and swindlers. Apparently, Benjamin Samuel Henry was also known as B.S. Henry because you couldn't trust a word he said. He was a man that borrowed money from family members to start his businesses that eventually failed, including a turkey farm, as I recall. I think the farm failed because a wild creature ate the turkeys. My grandpa didn't mention that part to me before taking my son Ben to see BS's grave. Hunting was a big part of his life. It was a hobby, but it started as a reality of life. I learned this as a teenager. After I finished cutting my grandpa's lawn every weekend, I would go inside and have lunch with my grandparents. Miriam, my grandmother, was the talker between the two of them. And many times she could talk the entire meal without stopping. She would only stop to quiz me about my love life. Harold would stare quietly at his plate and eat his meal. It wasn't always clear to me whether he was listening or purposefully tuning us out. One time, We were talking about eating the organs of animals. I don't think I could ever eat an animal's heart, I explained. It's too weird. When my grandpa heard this, he jolted up in his seat. What? That's the best part! When I was growing up, my father would shoot squirrels in the park on the way home from work, and that's what we would eat for dinner. The girls always cried because they never got to eat the organs. He was a lifelong hunter. I think he liked the quiet of the woods, the self reliance of hunting an animal and dragging it back to his truck. I think it started as a necessity and carried over as a hobby. In my mind, he's the kind of guy that America was built on. He was a kid that fought his way from nothing. He ate because he could hunt. He made money by delivering milk across unpaved roads between small Pennsylvania towns. He ran a small business and supported a family by running a local insurance agency. He was a depression kid that always prioritized large quantities of food over high quality food. He would drive 2 hours to go to an Amish buffet and then regale us with stories about how the buffet was 100 yards long with different kinds of food. When pushed to tell us which foods he got from the buffet, he would answer, all of them. He fought in the Korean War. He learned to fix cars by looking at the engines of the original Model Ts and tinkering with them. He loved baseball and apple pie. He was a conservative Republican, and whenever he and I talked politics, he would listen the same way he did when I was a teenager, eating lunch after mowing the lawn. Even when I told him I voted Democratic every time and I miss Barack Obama, I like to think he believed that Democrats could love America too. In summary, he was a simple kind of man. The kind of man Leonard Skinner sang about. I used to sing the song Simple Man to my son Ben while I gave him a bath as a baby. Now, when I hear the song, I'll think about my grandpa, even though he probably had no idea who Leonard Skinner was and probably would have hated their music. But he was a simple kind of man, in the sense that he knew what he was, he knew what he liked, and he knew where he fit in the world. And that was okay by him. In that way, if I could live a life like my grandpa's, I will have done well. Baby, be a simple kind of man. Be something you love and understand. Rest in peace, Grandpa.